Yep, that crap is still back. Anyway, welcome to another edition of the JJSports podcast. Today, I'm joining you, your co-host Joey,
I'm Josh.
and let's get started with our first piece of business today. Now, Josh, of course, it is the NBA playoffs still going on at this point, and we're obviously going to talk about that. But I do have to mention some things first because, well, I think they're pretty darn important, and this is a show that I have some control over, so I'm going to say what I want. Anyway, okay. So, I only got three things I want to mention in the realm. Actually, yeah. So number one, we have had, Josh, you know what Black Monday is in the NFL?
No.
It's like this term they use to describe every coach getting fired. Something like that. So we already had a few weeks ago, Terry Stotts got fired, right? From the Blazer. But do you remember in the NFL, remember that guy in the Cardinals? Do you remember who I'm talking about? He only had 1 year. I'm trying to remember his name. Before they brought in Cliff Kingsbury. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Whatever. It was only 1 year. So
I remember I don't remember who.
no, but you know how usually a guy gets like at least 2 years. So 1 year is just like so Stan Van Gundy, right? Brother of former coach Jeff Van Gundy. He just got fired only after one season as coach. You know, he had Zion, Ingram, Ball. So like, any thoughts on that?
Young team, it's tough to do. I guess the Pelicans thought that they were a little ahead of schedule. Zion had a ridiculous second year. And look, I mean, they just missed the playoffs. Granted, I know it was expanded, but I would have given him a little more time. But I guess they see things differently.
Right. And then the other one, this is technically not a firing, but this one's actually shocking. You're going to be shocked. Rick Carlisle resigned after 13 years of being the coach of the Mavericks.
That is shocking. Rick Carlisle just flat out resigned.
Yep. He said to Mark Cuban, I'm not coming back. That's what he said.
As in, he's not okay. So he's not retiring, but he's left the Mavericks.
No, resigning from the Mavericks. I didn't say retiring. I said resigning from that team.
That's very interesting. I mean, this is a young and up and coming team still for the most part. That's an interesting choice. I guess we're gonna see which teams are interested or wherever he's interested in trying to land a gig, and we'll see if he can bring success. We know he's capable of it. But obviously he's had also the opportunity to work with some obviously very fabulous players we've talked about, obviously Luka Doncic this past season, but in the past also you mentioned 13 years as a head coach. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't do justice if we didn't mention the fact that he had Dirk Nowitzki, who obviously helped bring a championship to Dallas, and also other players around the area, such as Tyson Chandler, Monta Ellis, we've seen as well. And even guys who have had, I guess, not as much an all-star role, but maybe a guy like even Tim Hardaway Jr., who was effective off the bench, Porzingis this past year or two. Interesting move, though, for him to step down. I'm curious to see where he ends up.
Yep. I mean, couldn't say it better myself. Honestly, a shock. This guy brought a championship to the city of Dallas. They're one and only ever. So it's kind of crazy how he's just like, it's not working out. Okay. Now, tell me if we talked about this piece of news, because this isn't the main part, but just tell me if we said this part, okay? So one of the best coaches in the league, I feel like we could agree on the past few seasons, was Brad Stevens from the Boston Celtics. Tell me if we said this. Danny Ainge, one of the best GMs in the league. He obviously got that trade for Kyrie, which was pretty good. He robbed the Nets for Garnett and Pierce. So, but anyway, he stepped down, and Brad Stevens became the GM. So, did we talk about this? Did you have thoughts on this?
We didn't.
Yeah, I must have forgotten to mention it.
Does that mean he is the coach or not? The Celtics will start.
Nope, he's not the coach. He decided, I don't want to be the coach anymore. I'm just going to be the GM.
Well, No, we did not talk about this, and I'll tell you what, building on the last thing we mentioned, Rick Carlisle, there's your first opportunity. Let's just say it that way.
Honestly, wow. I didn't even think about that. That's a good call. Think about that. Brad Stevens is your GM. Rick Carlisle as your coach. Ooh, maybe that's why maybe he resigned because of the Boston opening. That actually might be a thing. Maybe he thought to himself, wow, there might be a really good job opening. But anyway, the real thing I want to talk about is he made a move, Josh. He traded Kemba Walker.
Really?
He traded him to the Thunder for Al Horford, former Celtic.
Yeah, that's weird. Kemba Walker, I think, was by far a better fit to this team. I mean, Al Horford, obviously the history we know he's put together in his career, excellent player, but he had injury problems this past year. He's had injury problems throughout most of his career, and he's not the same player he once was. Now, granted, I know that he kind of revived his career a little bit this past year with Oklahoma when he was healthy all year long. And I mean, maybe they just feel they're a little too guard heavy, if I had to guess.
Yeah, so he actually explained his reasoning. He said he traded him with one goal, to maximize the talents of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
And I guess they can't do that with Kemba Walker on the floor. So I guess that's not the worst idea if that's how you're putting it together. But I feel that the Celtics could have gone a different route and gotten more for Kemba Walker. I honestly feel like Kemba Walker, I feel like the Celtics got a little fleeced here. Not the Celtics. Yeah, the Celtics got fleeced. Sorry.
Don't you think it's weird how, like, the Celtics try to take Gordon Hayward like a few years ago, then they ship him off to Charlotte, and then they trade Terry Rozier for Kemba Walker, and it's just like, and now they got rid of him, you know?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. I don't really know what to think of this other than Boston. I don't think got anywhere near back what Kemba Walker's played like the last couple of years.
Okay, cool. All right, gotcha. All right, and then the last thing before we get to the playoffs, of course, we got to talk about the awards because we didn't talk about all of them. We obviously had said Julius Randle, MIP, Jordan Clarkson, sixth man, Jokic MVP, but we have to do more besides and Coach of the Year, Tom Thibodeau. Executive of the Year, Phoenix Suns, James Jones. I think this is obviously a good answer because of getting Chris Paul and Jay Crowder and I guess, yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
Well, Chris Paul has clearly been a game changer to this team. It's really tough to not give it to Jones.
Right. Yeah. Second of all, LaMelo. Yeah.
That much worse.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal in the playoffs as well.
Second of all, LaMelo Ball, Rookie of the Year. Are you shocked by this, Josh, or you think it's deserved?
No, I think it's deserved, even with the injuries. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. He was scoring on a record-breaking pace his first couple of games. We talked about his first ever triple-double in the NBA.
Yep.
Fantastic player. Hope he's able to stay healthy because he's an electric player. He's a young player, and he is, one of the young players in this league who is going to be the face of the NBA, along with guys, I think, like Luka Doncic, potentially in the future, even a guy like Jaylen Brown. And to be put up there with guys like that who played longer than they did, I think even as much as Ball got injured this past year, absolutely fantastic. Really can't wait to see what he becomes.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. You're wondering who's going to be the better Ball in the future. I'm still betting on Lonzo, but it's possible it could be LaMelo. And then you got your first teams, the big three. So I'll start with defense just because Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year, I think, for the third time.
Yep.
And look at this team, man. Look at this all-defensive team. Giannis, Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, Drew Holiday, and Ben Simmons. Two of those guys are teammates. So think about that.
True.
And we'll get to that. Trust me. We'll get to that. We will. I
believe that this is, I really do believe this is the best all first team.
One of these not looking so good as of last night, but yeah. We'll get to that though. We will get to.
even with that, I mean, I guess they're expecting Draymond Green to play the power forward position because they have Gobert at center.
I think the way it works, I think it's not a set small forward, power forward, point guard. I think it's just 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center. I think that's how they do it.
Fine. Okay, well
I
then
believe.
there would be the center. But yeah, no, I like it. I mean,
I think they
obviously,
do that for this and for rookies, but I think for the real one, I think it is actual every position. And then the second team, also pretty good. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Buckets. I feel like he should be on the first, but that's just me. Joel Embiid, a pick for MVP this year. Kawhi Leonard, I feel also should be first team. And Matisse Thybulle, what a rookie. I don't know if you know this guy. I love this guy. Ever since the bubble, he's one of these players. He did vlogs for like what it was like in the bubble, and just seeing him like show the world what it was like in there was really cool. And I saw him play, and he was actually a really good player too. He was a rookie last year. He was one of my favorite rookies to watch, so it was pretty cool. Any thoughts on this, Josh? And also 2 teammates here too. 2 teammates here as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, two different groups of teammates. 2 Heats and 2 Sixers. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Obviously, it's tough to even leave Embiid out in the first, but obviously Rudy Gobert, I would argue, is the best defensive center in the game, strictly defensively. Embiid, you really can't go wrong with at number 2. Bam Adebayo also, also another center / power forward. So again, you already mentioned that for when we talked about the first team a couple seconds ago on how the positioning works. But obviously 2 of the the best power forward, I guess. Let's say power players, I guess. Since they're not guards, but like I don't know if a center really is like either way. And obviously Kawhi Leonard being a multi-time defensive player of the year, not shocked to see him on there. Jimmy Butler, I think, is placed better at 2. I feel like to put him at 1 and have a guy say like Ben Simmons, who's also been defensive player of the year in the past, a little bit of a little bit of an interesting swap if you were to have that, but no disrespect. I mean, second team's also a very, very good accolade to have.
Don't worry. We'll talk about Ben Simmons.
And Thybulle, also one of the younger players in the league you mentioned. I mean, coming off his sophomore season, fantastic. Unfortunately, and we'll get to it. Didn't go as far as that team would have liked to, I guess. But a lot of promise for him coming up.
Okay, now the NBA. Let's do rookies. And Josh, you're gonna like this one. So let's get to the first team. LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Sadiq Bey, and Deshaun Tate. So I heard of Sadiq Bey. I didn't watch him so much, but he was a highly touted prospect, and I have no idea who this last guy is. I have no idea. He was on Houston, so that probably is why. These 2 guys were on Houston and Detroit. That's probably why I don't know who they are.
Oh, well, I guess with that, I mean, Houston obviously was not a very strong team. But look, I guess the good news is similar to what we spoke about coming into the NHL season with Detroit, most comparable to, there is nowhere to go but up. That's on the bright side, I guess, if you want to look at it like that.
Yeah.
As for the big 3 out of these 5 on the first team, LaMelo Ball, I mean, rookie of the year, enough explained, enough said there. Anthony Edwards, first overall pick this past season, fantastic, even though the Timberwolves were a very, very bad team this year. Tyrese Halliburton, the Kings, also not a very strong team, but he's one of those younger players with a lot of promise, lethal shooter. I'm really interested to see, what he's able to accomplish in the future.
Right. And now, the second team, baby. We got Desmond Bane, Isaac Okoro, Isaiah Patrick-Williams, and Emmanuel Quickly. Let's go. Yeah. Well-deserved, motherfucker. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Okoro, also great rookie season. Quickly got some attention for the rookie of the year, but not as much, obviously, as a guy like Anthony Edwards and a guy like LaMelo Ball. Patrick Williams, good to see him getting some love. Stewart and Bane also. Again, these are the rookies who had, their solid debut, who weren't, I guess, up to caliber with guys like Edwards and Halliburton and LaMelo Ball, but obviously enough recognition to put them in the conversation for players who have a lot of room to grow. And obviously, all of these players do have that potential.
Yes. And finally, the king of all kings, the all-NBA first, second, and third team. So the first, this one's the best. This one's like, I'm not even going to be mad about it because it's so perfect. Giannis Steph, Luka, Jokic, Leonard. It makes sense, man. Giannis is a freak. Steph is the best point guard in the league. Luka and Jokic with the triple doubles, and Kawhi is one of the best defensive players in the league. So
yeah, I mean, Jokic won the MVP. Giannis won it 2 of the last 3 years. Curry's won it twice in his career. Doncic Rookie of the Year. Leonard two-time Defensive Player of the Year.
and Finals MVP. So yeah,
and Finals MVP. I mean, he carried that Raptors team 2 years ago in the playoffs, not including this postseason, which we'll get to, by the way. But either way, with that being said, I mean, like, you really couldn't have drawn it up any better. I mean, even Stephen Curry was very much in contention for the MVP until Jokic, but showed he clearly wasn't just on a streak the first half or so of the regular season. He was absolutely fantastic. And I think it's also really interesting to see that, I mean, most of these players aren't homegrown talents by the USA either. Believe it or not, theoretically, only one of these players are, and that's Stephen Curry, because Kawhi Leonard not originally from the USA, Jokic and Doncic both from Europe, Giannis Antetokounmpo from Europe as well. So with that being said, that's first off. Second off, I just want to point out how somehow, some way, that I had 2 of these top 5 players on my fantasy team in basketball, and I don't know how the hell that happened. But either way, I had Jokic and Kawhi. But either way, well, yeah, like Kawhi played a lot better throughout the regular season than most people thought. Anyway, I mean, you really can't compete with this lineup. I know that down the stretch, like, Durant proved a little more. He definitely wasn't an injury fluke. And James Harden, had shown, I think he officially changed his mindset and play style that he couldn't.
Yeah, but that's like a recency playoff bias.
That's
type
more
thing.
of a they have each other type thing rather than these.
Yeah, and this is like a playoffs type thing. This is a regular season type of.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jokic has Jamal Murray, but Jamal Murray was injured for a big part of the second half of the year. Kawhi Leonard, sure, he has Paul George, but same thing. Paul George injured a couple of games.
Luka and Curry don't really have anyone.
Yeah, I mean, Curry did it all on his own pretty much this year. I mean, obviously Wiggins got a lot better this year with Golden State, and Draymond Green was fantastic defensively, but he's not that shooter he once was anymore. Giannis, I mean, there's enough said. He's on a super team, but he is the heart and soul of that team.
And we will get to him, folks. Don't you worry.
Yes, we will get to it. And obviously, Luka Doncic, I mean, Porzingis was out for the majority of this year. And we mentioned some of the players around him, like Tim Hardaway Jr., like Josh Richardson in the past, and even guys who are not, I guess, as highly doubted on that team as some other players, guys who kind of fill in every here and there, like Dwight Powell, like Boban Marjanovic. But still, I mean, Luka Doncic is pretty damn good that I'd put him in the top 5 for the All-NBA first team.
Okay. So the second team, Joel Embiid, LeBron, Dame, Chris Paul, and Julius Randle. Let's go.
Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, obviously, Joel Embiid was one of the front runners for the MVP until Jokic, pulled ahead. LeBron, despite getting injured, he's still LeBron. You can't compete with that.
Yeah, he still got it. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to say Curry didn't deserve it, but I feel like putting Lillard over Curry in the top 5 wouldn't have been the worst possible thing.
Nah, I think he's still second best. But I
think so too. But I feel like
CP3 Hall of
Fame. It would have been something like, say, putting, I don't know, if you put you put Jason Tatum over Jimmy Butler, something like that. It wouldn't have been like that crazy if you would have put Lillard ahead of Curry. So either way,
and then CP3, he took the team on his back, and then, of course, also took the team on his back, and then some. Julius Randle, you made it, bud. You made it.
Most improved player for a reason, and I really do think that we have. I don't want to say he's peaked just yet, but I do believe that he is starting to unlock his the real player that had the potential. I believe it was the Lakers who drafted him, either Lakers or Pelicans. I don't know who drafted him.
No, he was on the Lakers, and then he went
Who drafted him? Was it LA or
the Lakers?
The Lakers, who originally saw in Julius Randle what they had, hope they'd be getting in him. So yeah.
Yeah, and like I just gotta say, I don't think he's peaked at all. As long as you're with Tibbs, you can just go up. I just see that. You saw it with Derrick Rose, you saw it with Joakim Noah, you see it with Jimmy Butler. Like it just I see it. So I saw that. And then the third team, this is where it's funny. Only one net, Josh, and it's the one I thought least whatever. Bradley Beal, who was phenomenal this year, one of the best players in the league. Jimmy Butler, who you mentioned, PG, not a pandemic P anymore. Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year, is on the third team. And Kyrie. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean,
I'd rather have Harden, but yeah.
For this rather than you do defensive minded, because if it was defensive minded, I mean, obviously you can't compete with the season Jokic put up, but then I would think that Rudy Gobert would be on the second team instead of Joel Embiid, unless they were going to even have them as both forwards. But again, the fact that this is your third NBA all team, I mean, like, can you really like be that much upset about it? I mean, Kyrie Irving stayed healthy the most out of all of the big three for the Nets this past year. And I just find it kind of funny how he was the one who played the least in the playoffs in the second round. As for Rudy Gobert, we talked about him, defensive player in the year. He's there for a reason. Paul George, we just gave recognition to Kawhi, how he didn't do it all on his own. He was injured. Kawhi helped carry that team partially through the second half of the year. And he's been phenomenal in the playoffs, though. George has really come back to life. Jimmy Butler, I mean, we spoke about him, second all NBA team defensively. Fantastic player. You mentioned him with Tom Thibodeau. And Bradley Beal, I believe, ended up as the league's leading scorer. I'm a little surprised he was not at the very least on the second team. But then again, I mean, you can only argue that so much.
Yeah,
I mean, Lillard and James and Embiid, Paul, honestly.
So I think it's a position thing. So to quote Don from Michael K, who you taking out? Who you taking out? Who the hell you like?
Haynes made it genius.
You want to put Beal, you got to replace him with Damian Lillard, who's the second best point guard in the league.
I would think maybe Chris Paul maybe on the third NBA team. I mean, Chris Paul's stats weren't mind-blowing this past year. That being said, he's on there more for his leadership skills and his ability to take over a game. And
True.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, like Chris Paul, definitely, I think, fantastic pick for second all NBA team. I just feel like when Bradley Beal leads the NBA in scoring, that it seems a little more, because this is more of an offensive, statistically picked award to be credited with.
Right. Okay. But all in all, you agree with the picks.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So now that that's all out of the way, let's do what we do. Playoffs. Yep, let's do playoffs. So, let me just, here you go. Okay. So, let's see. So hold on. Okay. Let's just the sweep was already over, right? Denver, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Did that happen already?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Utah Clippers. Holy crap. What happened, Josh?
I'm a little shocked. I mean,
the Clippers, down 2-0. It seems like the Clippers, it's like weird. Like Kawhi only plays well when he's down 2-0. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Clippers from the start of this bracket. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember that I picked them to win the NBA Finals this season. And I picked them to beat the 76ers, and I filled that whole thing out. But as I said, and I keep saying, just to reiterate the fact that I am not doing that based on that bracket's not changing. The predictions just for what is coming now, on a secondary showing of what is to come is what we're focusing on right now, or at least what I'm focusing on. And to see that Utah fell in the second round, a little disappointed in them. However, Donovan Mitchell not at full strength, and we all knew that the big horse and the elephant in the room was going to be whether or not Jordan Clarkson could, in fact, keep up his scoring the way he played all year as the sixth man and first guy off the bench, first option off the bench. He has playoff experience. He played with the Cavaliers when they went on those 4 straight trips to the NBA Finals. And while they only won one, I mean, he got his ring there. He got his experience there. But with that being said, much different team. Didn't have a guy like LeBron to carry and a great sidekick in Kyrie. Now, that being said, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert is not that much worse a tandem. I mean, like, obviously it is because you're talking LeBron and Kyrie. But, I mean, the fact that that is that much worse really shows the level of skill that the first two guys are on that we mentioned. Anyway, the Clippers move on again. Kawhi continues to be a beast. Paul George was massive in the 5th and 6th game of that series against Utah for Los Angeles. And now they're battling the Suns. Game 2 is tomorrow night. It's going to be an absolute thriller. I can't wait to see where it goes. And I honestly believe that I think the Clippers are going to pull out just because of how they've been able to battle back being down in every playoff series so far. They have never been in a series where they have only led. They were down 2-0 to the Dallas Mavericks and then 3-2 to the Mavericks. And they were down 2-0 before they won 4 straight against the Utah Jazz. And I won't be any more shocked if, even though this is obviously the toughest team they've faced, I personally think the Suns are a little bit of a better team than the Jazz. The Jazz had a better record. We talked about that in previous episodes. I do think that while the Suns are the better team of the top 2 that ended up in the top 2 for the conference, that the Clippers obviously right now just have something going that is magical with the way Kawhi's played. It feels like he's back to his form from carrying the Raptors in 2019, and Paul George we're seeing vintage playoff Paul George again. We're seeing fantastic depth play from guys like Nicholas Batum and Reggie Jackson, Rajon Rondo. And then might I also add that Luke Kennard has been a monster off the bench as well for the Los Angeles Clippers. As for Phoenix, and we talked about them already, it won't shock me if they win this series either.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Paul was out, by the way, first game. But
yeah, so Kawhi was out also. So something I want to mention. So no Kawhi on their side and no Paul. And yet Paul George gets 34 and Devin Booker scores 40 by himself. He does it he wins the game by himself. Josh, I'm going to say this. Before Chris Paul came, I felt like Devin Booker was kind of an overrated guy. I kind of felt like people just liked him because he padded his stat sheet, but he didn't prove he could win anywhere. He felt like a whiner. He felt like he was getting the hell out of there real soon if they didn't do anything. But guess what? They got Chris Paul. And I don't know what happened. Maybe it's like one of those things where either once you get to the playoffs, you can do something, but since your team sucks, you can't get there. Or it's like Chris Paul inspired him or unlocked something with him. Either way, Devin Booker came out to play and he proved all the haters wrong. So, yeah.
Look, he played the most amount of minutes on this team of anyone. So,
yeah.
Say what you want. But, I mean, Monty Williams trusted him enough to leave him out there almost 10 minutes longer than the next guy who played, which was DeAndre Ayton. And he doubled Ayton on the score chart in points. He had more assists and rebounds than the tallest player on that team. That's crazy. And, obviously, I guess
triple-double. He had a triple-double.
But look at the guy. I mean, like 11 assists, 13 rebounds, 40 points in a playoff game against the Clippers. And granted, I know no Kawhi, even though the Suns didn't have Paul George. I mean, and not Paul George, Chris Paul, but you're still dealing with Paul George and the 5 great supporters on the, from the bench and for depth players in the lineup, like Batum, like Kennard, like Zubac we've mentioned. And this is all also without Serge Ibaka right now, too, don't forget. So, which is even crazy.
I forgot about Serge Ibaka.
We got to put that together and see that obviously while this Clippers team is down in the series, there's no way that they are out of it just yet.
I'm not. So before we do predictions, do you think Booker could have another performance like this? Because I'm going to be honest, I think there's no shot just because, one, I feel like they didn't expect it, or two, Kawhi was out, right? Like maybe he could do it again. Like if Kawhi's in, it's never happening again. 40 points. I just don't believe it. But
Look,
if he's out, I think they're just going to expect it now and they're just going to double him,
Look, I don't know, but I will say while Kawhi being out is one thing, I mean, what they're not expecting it. I'm sure Booker is expecting it to get a lot more tight for him in what the Clippers give him offensively and, a lot more tight defensively for the Clippers to show Booker that it's not a cakewalk. And you mentioned it. Well, I know Chris Paul wasn't there. I think Kawhi Leonard's defense makes up a little more over the fact that Chris Paul didn't play. We know Paul's ability to take over a game and to help carry a team late in a game. But we also know Kawhi Leonard's defensive ability. And I'm like, no offense to Devin Booker, he's proven, and I think he's definitely taken that next step to become an elite scorer in the NBA without a question. But I just don't know if it goes, if it is stronger than Kawhi Leonard's defensive play. I mean, he's on the NBA defensive team for a reason. He's on NBA first all first team for a reason. And he's a multi-time defensive player of the year for a reason. So I just can't see Booker having as dominant a game, but I don't think that it won't be close to that extent. He could definitely come out here and prove us wrong again. And look, Kawhi, we don't know the timetable on him in terms of longevity in this series. Chris Paul, it's a COVID issue, so things are a little different. So we'll see.
Okay. All right, and now let's. Do you want to do a prediction for this one, or should we do the other games first?
I'm just gonna say it like that. Clippers in 7.
Okay, Clippers in 7. Okay, I'll do Suns in 7, just because no Kawhi, no Paul. It's really hard to tell who's gonna have the edge here. It's very tough.
Look, they haven't played in Los Angeles yet. It's only one game into the series, and both teams are missing arguably their best player.
Listen, if the Clippers,
I think it is their best player on both sides.
That's what I'm saying. If the Clippers lose at home, though, that's weird, because they lost at home a lot this year. They have a losing record at home, I'm pretty sure, something like that. Yeah. All right, Josh. Which one of these teams do you want to clown on first? Oh man, which one should we do?
We got to save the best for last. So let's clown on Philly.
All right. Before we get into this, I need to ask you a question. Do you think this loss is because of the Sixers curse or the Doc Rivers curse, or both?
I don't think it's from either. I think it's just from the fact that the Hawks are a white hot team right now. I mean, they've lost 4 games out of the 8. Out of the 12 they've played. Sorry, not 12. Yeah, out of the 12 they've played in the playoffs so far. But if you look at where they've had to win, they actually, of their 8 wins, have more wins on the road than they do at home. And that's scary to think, because at home coming into the playoffs in the first round, they had won 11 straight games. 11 straight games at home. And they lost their first game in the playoffs at home. Not their first game in the playoffs. Their first time ever trailing in the playoffs, they lost a game at home. Everyone thought it was going to be Hawks up 3-1 going back to Philly, and it was going to be do or die, and the Hawks were going to close it out in 6. That's what everyone thought after the Hawks won game 1. They thought, yeah, they might lose game 2. But doesn't matter. They're white hot at home, and they lost the first game. They battled back. And we talked about, they had that crazy comeback in the second half for game 4, and they did it again in game 5 on the road. 26 points, 26-point comeback on the road in game 5, pivotal game 5, should I say, for both teams, because whoever wins takes a 3-2 series lead, and coming back into an arena where, yeah, their win streak was snapped. But if you still look at the last 15 games, they're only 14-1. Don't worry about it. How?
Yeah, usually the hot team always wins. It's weird.
Granted, they didn't win that game 6, but it was close. It was only a 5-point game. I think it was 104-99 or something like that. And at the same time, they were not good at the free throw line in that game, Joey. I don't know if you saw the stats or if you want to check them out right now.
Here, let me pull it up. So this is what it says. It says.
But they were talking. I didn't have an opportunity to watch the game, but after seeing the highlights,
I did. I watched highlights. So it says free throws 19 for 25, 76%, and the Hawks were 75. So about the same.
They're right. Well, 75% from the free throw line, especially considering who took, because most of them were taken by Trae Young, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, who are the 3 top shooters percentage-wise on this team, or 3 of, I guess, the top 5% shooters on this team, I should say better, is not very impressive. It's a little underwhelming, especially, Trae Young, we know what he can do from the free throw line in general, but the numbers he put up at the free throw line this past year, Bogdanovich, Huerter, Gallinari, and Collins were their 4 others. And I'm just a little shocked that they only clocked in at 75%. To think if they would have hit 5 more free throws, it would have been tied. Maybe even they win. I don't even remember. It was not, what was it? 103. This is not the most recent game, Joey. I mean, 75%. Wait, no,
Yeah.
you're looking at the wrong game. I'm talking about game 6, Joey.
Oh, well, there were 7 games. So how would I know you were talking about that one?
I said game 6. Yeah, 104-99. Okay, and if you look at the stats now, the
Oh,
Hawks shot.
that's really bad. Oh shit.
They shot 54%. 54% from free throws. Sorry, 75%. Still not great, honestly, but as a team, not terrible when you have guys like Trae Young and John Collins. But this is even worse when you had guys. I had the stats in mind from
32% from the 3, 41.
well, that's great, but actually no, that's not great. That's
That does
okay.
not sound good. No.
That's okay. I mean, like for a team, but
I don't think that's okay for this team. Bogdanovich, Gallinari.
Okay, forget about that. We're talking about the free throws.
Okay,
54.2%.
That's not good either. That's
If they would have hit 6 more free throws, and we're talking about guys like Trae Young, like Bogdan Bogdanovich, sorry, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, Danilo Gallinari, and for crying out loud, even if you want to throw a guy like Lou Williams in there too, 54.2%. If each one of those guys would have hit 2 more free throws or even 1 more free throw, they win this game. That is ridiculous. And now, granted, 69%, or I guess we'll round it up to 70 because it's 69.6. 70% from the free throw line is not terrible. Obviously, a heck of a lot better than 54. But wow, like if the Hawks, I mean, like they won the series in the end, so I'm not gonna come down on them too hard. But it could have been over a lot, not a lot. Like it could have been over a game earlier on their home turf, and they could be a little more rested for this series. Now, granted, I think that Milwaukee, while they did finish their series a day earlier, might be a little more taxed due to the extent that series took. I think they had a tougher fight against the Nets than the Hawks did against the 76ers. And I know that might be a bit of a hot take because obviously Philly was the number 1 seed and the Nets weren't playing with their big 3 completely intact. But I mean, I don't know if you watched Game 7 between the Nets and Bucks, Joey.
we will get to that, Josh. Right?
Obviously, the level of intensity that series was, I think it's safe to say, was a little bit crazier than this one. If you watched,
I mean, yeah. I mean, they had moments, but
the ones
at the end of like 5 minutes every game, it just went. It sounded like they were taking the game away from each other. It didn't seem close in the last.
At least the last 2 games in Brooklyn, it did.
I'm talking about Atlanta. But
yeah, that's valid. I mean, look, I had a friend who was at the game yesterday from New York. He drove down to Philly for Father's Day with his dad. I mean, he watched
wow,
for the Hawks.
That must have sucked.
I mean, no, he's a Hawks, not like.
Oh, he's a Hawks fan. Okay, I was confused.
No, like rooting for the Hawks to win.
Okay. Oh, so that must have rocked. Yeah. Woo.
I mean, like, look, and I mean, this guy was also he's a Knicks fan too, just like us. So obviously, it's frustrating. Like, I don't normally root for the team that knocks out my team, but this year, like, I'll root the Hawks on. They're a young team. I don't think that. I mean, like, honestly, I think it was more on the fact that the Knicks just didn't play hard enough than the Hawks just flat out robbing the series from them. I don't know if you agree with me on that, Joey.
I don't know. It's hard to say because
they went flat after game 2. It just.
I mean, like the real thing that happened was Elfrid Payton decided to just like stop trying, and it just ruined a lot of the tempo and everything.
Okay, well, either way, like the point is, I'm not bashing on the Hawks to lose because they don't deserve to be in the second round. They smoked the Knicks. They were the better team. They played like it. They were better coached. Like, no offense, Thibodeau obviously won the coaching of the year, and congrats to him on that. And Randall, we talked about that. But obviously, I think it's a lot safer to say that the Hawks deserve that series a little more than the Knicks. I mean, they were the better team in the second half of the year. If we're going to just be straight up record-wise, they were 27-11 since.
I mean, yeah, a lot of that comes from their coach that they got mid-season, Nate McMillan.
The fact that Nate McMillan is doing this as the interim really shows, I guess, either the lack of work that Atlanta put into realizing, or the lack of trust, I guess, they realized into putting in, or it just shows really how underrated a mind he has for this game, or had coming into this game. Because clearly, I mean, he's knocked off one of the best defensive teams in the NBA this past year, and he's knocked off one of the best offensive teams in the NBA this past year. So, and both times they didn't have home court advantage, and they're not going to have it in the Eastern Conference Finals against, in my opinion, the best team in the East on paper. Obviously, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving is pretty tough to compete with. But, I mean, Giannis is a 2-time MVP over the last 3 years. Drew Holiday just signed that mass extension. And we know what Brook Lopez has in terms of his playoff experience. And obviously with other guys who are –
Josh, I wanted to talk wait, we're moving on now? I thought we were still –
I'm just saying in terms of what the Hawks are going to have to deal with.
No, but we'll get to that. Let's do each.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
I'm just put it back
just to recap, okay? So
tangent. I mean –
So yeah, so just to recap.
I did say the Hawks were going to win this series in 6. I stuck with that. And I mean, I was right. The main thing I care about more is getting the winner of the series right, which I did. And I'm like, I'll pat myself on the back for that. But that being said, heck of a series still.
I mean, so I said I thought the Sixers were going to win if Embiid was healthy. And
he wasn't.
The thing was, I'm not sure he was, which is weird because if you look at this score sheet, he scored 30 with like one leg. So I don't know. It was weird, you know? I think, like, when I think about it, I actually do think this team is cursed. I think it's double cursed, actually. You didn't answer my question, but I'm answering my own. Think about it. Sixers haven't gone past the second round in years, any other years of this process or whatever. Have not. They lost 2 Game 7s, the one against Kawhi with that shot and then this one. And Doc Rivers has never made the conference finals with the Clippers, you know, or the Sixers. I know it's only 1 year. He made it with the Celtics, but that was like 10 years ago. So yeah, the dude can't make it out of the second round either. So it seems like they go hand in hand. It's like Barry Trotz in the Capitals. Like,
well, I think that was more on the Capitals than it was Barry Trotz, if that makes any sense. Because
Trotz, I don't know. I can't think of a coach who can't get past the second round. Who's Toronto's coach?
It's not bad. I don't even know who it is anymore.
Sheldon Keefe. Yeah, that guy. Okay.
Not Claude Julien from even before that.
Right. Anyway, I think the real problem is the guy we talked about that made the second team? I don't know. Was it second defensive team? Either way, it doesn't matter. Ben Simmons, you god awful this game. Oh my God.
He was first, by the way.
He was first. He was first defensive team?
Yeah, point guard. He's the point guard.
Bro, something's wrong here. He got schooled and he couldn't even like match anything that he was giving. I was like the Kardashian curse also is in play. So yeah, it just sucks, you know? Do you think they might trade Ben Simmons or do you think they're just gonna run it back another year?
I think that running it back one more year is the right move. I don't think that Ben Simmons is really an expendable piece. I mean, he's done wonders defensively for this team. Really, I mean, it's more his offensive confidence, I think. I mean, there were 2 or 3 plays where he had wide open looks, and I'm not talking about from 15 feet out. I'm talking 2 or 3 feet, a bank shot off the backboard or even a dunk for him with his range. And easy buckets, and maybe he even draws a foul in some cases, and he just elected not to take them. He elected to pass the ball off, and especially in that last one where I don't know if you were watching it, Joey, but
I saw it.
He's Thibault that for some reason he had a wide open dunk. It would have easily had been an easy 2 and maybe even an opportunity for a 3-point play. Obviously, he's not a great free throw shooter, but even to put yourself at the line still give you that chance. You know, as Wayne Gretzky once famously said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So obviously he's not going to score if he doesn't even get to the line. But, at least.
Yeah, I don't get it. He had a wide open look, and he was the worst case scenario. You get fouled, and you get another point.
The thing is, by the way, because they were only down 2 at the time, is that the first free throw attempt was no good. And I don't think the Hawks ever gave the lead back up or even let the 76ers tie it from that point on. So it just goes to show you.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all I could say. I'm just like, they blew it. They blew it. Tree. I'm expecting a video from Tree tonight. I hope he does one. A congrats Sixers, because they're going to need one. Oh, man. All right, Josh. And now, the creme de la creme. The super team, the big 3, Brooklyn Nets, going to win the championship the first year. Lost in overtime of Game 7.
I told you this would happen. told you it was going 7. I told you they were going to lose. And I told you at the start, I told you coming into the playoffs, forget about even once all the teams that officially made it, that there was no way they were going past the second round.
Why are you saying it like I didn't say that? I said the same thing as you.
No, like for all the haters out there whoever is going to watch this, right? And whoever is going to be like when Giraffe Nick Mark makes the Yankees lose compilation or whatever you want to call it, right? And he says, I told you, like, this team or whatever, right? The same way, okay? Everyone loves to hate on him, but they can't argue with the stats that it didn't happen, okay? Same thing here. You Nets fans can talk all the shit you want. You could tell me how great this team was. You could tell me how there's no trio as good as KD, Kyrie, and James Harden that is, combined in the league. You could tell me how it doesn't exist. Well, guess what? It's clearly not the best team in the league for 2 reasons. Because A, 3 people can't carry a team. And 2, they lost. So either way.
But the thing is they didn't play a lot. They played like 5 games together.
You said it too, though, Joey, that the key being they hadn't played with each other all season long. And I was saying, experience on your own matters a lot, but it doesn't matter as much as
chemistry to thrive, man. And guess what? These Bucks had a lot of it, man. All right, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Yeah, props to KD. Hit a lot of points. He hit that shot to get them to OT. Everyone's like, "Oh, bro, if it was a foot more, they would have won the game." But it wasn't. Okay, and just because if he was a foot back, that it does not guarantee that he's still making the shot. If you can move a foot there, back, forward, the farther you're back, the less of a chance it's going in. So I don't know why people are saying it as if it was going to go in automatically if you step back a little. Like, it's not a guarantee at all. So I don't know.
This is some plain geometry right here, boys. Some plain rules of geometry.
I'm not a math person, but even I understand that. Like,
an arc, it's not going in with the same arc from 5 feet back. It's just not.
Like, it's going to be a different shot. It's a different shot altogether. Like, the only reason people would think otherwise is just because Steph Curry is a god and he makes any shot look easy and the same, or Dame Lillard too. But like, it doesn't work like that for every player. It just doesn't. So yeah, there's no guarantee that's going in. Sorry. And second of all, dude, and I'm not gonna say he was schooled, but holy crap, what a pickup by the Bucks for getting PJ Tucker midseason. Oh my God, what he was doing such a good job stopping Durant. Well, I'm not going to say stopping. That's not the best word, but he was like slowing him down. He was like containing him a bit. And oh my God, Josh, what did I tell you? What did I tell you was the difference between this Bucks team and the Bucks teams of old that would just always lose? Do you remember what I told you?
Well, we talked about Drew Holiday, obviously.
Yes, we talked about Drew Holiday. He made key buckets. He made key defensive stops, key rebounds. He did everything right. Even Chris Middleton, who's had a big, I feel like he's been like had a lot of controversy in the past. I always feel like people are like, he's not the guy. I don't know. That could just be me. I feel like he has like this like. I feel like he has like a Marner mentality. You know what I mean? Like
I hear.
And I'm like, no, he's not Marner because the dude scored 20 and 10. So he's definitely not Marner.
And he played great defense. I know, granted, like the defensive stats don't really show up here unless you want to count rebounds as it. But I mean, like in terms of how he actually guarded other players, the Bucks really alternated between 3 guys on KD most of this series, but especially like late in this game 7. I mean, but especially late in specifically PJ Tucker, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton. And it was one of those 3 guys each time. And when Tucker got into
all defensive studs, all of them.
I mean, Tucker got into foul trouble late. Then they alternated. And even after, the trust that Mike Budenholzer had to keep him on Durant with 5 fouls in overtime with 10 seconds left and, the shot clock off and a 3-point contest and Durant, like you foul him, it doesn't matter. 3-point or not, you're out of the game. And it's 2 free throws because you're in the penalty at the time. Then you got to go back to Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. I just want to point out, first of all, props to Tucker. He didn't foul out. And some of the fouls, 2 of the 3 fouls he picked up late in the game, were soft calls, in my opinion. Second of all, Chris Middleton didn't take Durant as much in overtime, but he hit some massive shots.
So I want to get to that part.
And then real quick to cap it off, Drew Holiday with the last play, which made Kevin Durant airball. By the way, Durant has a good 5-6 inches on Drew Holiday. With that being said, Drew Holiday did not make it seem that way. And obviously, showing huge benefit to the pickup, the reason they traded for him. And, if it really works out for them and they are able to go all the way, then even better reason for giving him that max contract extension.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, so I want to break down overtime because it was really weird. So for like the first minute, Durant hit another bucket, and then it was like 3-4 minutes of nothingness. And then boom, baby, boom. Giannis, by the way, it was hard. Giannis, it was hard for him to score because KD was all over him, and he's going backwards, and finally he hits like a fadeaway shot, and it was beautiful. And then I get scared. You know why? Because they immediately try to inbound the ball to KD, and he's running down the court. He's running like a freak. He is so close to getting to the basket, and I thought for sure it was going in, Josh. I thought 100%, oh, crap, he's going in. He's going to dunk on some fool and make him wish he wasn't born. That's what he's going to do. And guess what, Josh? It didn't happen. He got blocked by Brook Lopez. The guy that the Nets used to have their own player, the guy that drafted years ago and traded away. Brook Lopez smacked him down. That was one of the best time defensive plays I ever saw. My jaw dropped when I saw that. I had no idea that was going to happen. I didn't think that was a shot. I thought for sure it was going in. And then, of course, as you said before, and then Chris Middleton with the icing on the cake. And then, funnily enough, game's really over, 0.3 seconds, and Harden, for some reason, fouls Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez. And game's over. They shook hands. They dabbed each other up. And then Brook Lopez, just like another icing on the cake, he shoots 3 throws, but the game's over. It's like the funniest thing. Yeah. It was awesome, Josh. What you know I'm talking about, that feeling when you saw Brook Lopez get that block?
Look, man, like, all I want to say is you would know it with me, Joey, okay? Like, on more of a personal level. But for those who don't know, right, I mean, like, I don't think I've ever rooted so badly, not including like a playoff series or a game where my own team is the team that is playing, right?
Right.
You don't root for at all, okay? Yeah. I don't know that I've ever rooted so hard for a team to lose a game where my favorite team is not part of it. And yes, you guys know how much I hate Boston and the Bruins, how much I even have a level of hate toward the Yankees when their fans get so ecstatic about the most pointless things. And especially in football, when it's all about Brady and it's all about Belichick. Like, that being said, right? Like I went ecstatic when the Eagles won. Like, even though I'm a Giants fan, and the Eagles are like, our sworn enemies. I can't tell you how excited I was that they actually won that game. I can't tell you how excited I was when St. Louis won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, I was with you, buddy. I'm like,
how ecstatic I am. I couldn't tell you how ecstatic I was when the Yankee fans talked crap about how they were going to get back at the Astros. Now, granted, I know that was very sketchy, but they still lost. But I can't tell you even more about how excited I am that the Brooklyn Nets fans just absolutely blew it big time. This was their series to win on paper. Like, the Bucks are the better overall team. But how do you piss away Durant, Kyrie, and Harden? Might I mention, they added Blake Griffin, who's not the same player.
Fouled out, by the way. He fouled out.
They still had right. Well, guess what? It didn't matter because they weren't with him either way. Might I mention, at the same time, they happened to have a great shooter by the name of Joe Harris, who played like trash in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Might I mention Bruce Brown, the guy who everyone says is easily the most hardworking defensive bench player in the game. Yeah, I mean, he was nowhere in the overtime session when they needed him. Nicholas Claxton, bench. Everyone's like, oh, he's a giant. He's going to be a shot blocker of the future. Well, he didn't see a minute in this game. He saw about 10 seconds, and that was just on the play where Giannis was inbounding the ball in the last second of overtime. Congratulations. Your best defensive shot blocker didn't even play 10 seconds in the game. And then, obviously, saving the best for last, the big three, which I already mentioned. How do you piss their efforts away? Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. And you bragged you said the next 3 years, and this was before you got Harden, sorry, Durant and Kyrie alone, NBA champions at least 2 of the next 4 years, and at least conference finals every year. Well, you didn't even make it to the first conference final yet, Brooklyn. So while you guys enjoy your second round exit and all the talking crap you did before this playoffs, and you let that sink in, okay, think hard and long for next season when you realize just how stupid you guys have been sounding because of the fact that 3 players will not win you a championship. There's only one exception to that. At least like one guy will win you a championship, and that is LeBron, and he's proven it at least 3 or 4 times in his career. You know, I mean, like, that's only the 3 or 4 times he's won it. Like, I guess get you there. Let's say get you there. He's proven that at least 3 or 4 times. But with that being said, that is the one exception. He is the greatest player of the generation and arguably the best player in NBA history. I personally don't think he is. I don't think you can compete with Michael Jordan. But for those who say, because it is a believed thing to some extent, that he is arguably the best player in NBA history. Some people don't even say arguably. I'm not on that route.
I would say he has a good shot. I think, like, hypothetically, if this
if he wins 3 more champiomships, he probably will end up.
I'm saying even if he wins 1 more, but it's like against this Nets team, like the full-fledged big 3 Nets team, like at full health, if he beats that team, I'm calling him the GOAT. Because there's no fucking.
Let's just say it like this. The bottom line, forget about LeBron. Like, that's just the comparison we gave.
You brought him up, so yeah.
Is not going to be winning a championship anytime soon. They'll be a contender. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to compete with them. But until they prove themselves, I don't buy it. Just like the same way, until the Islanders prove themselves, like, yeah, they've gotten better, I guess. I don't buy it that they're a championship caliber team. You know, if they don't get past the Eastern Conference Final this year, and we'll get to that obviously later.
Yeah, we're getting to that. And honestly, I don't see it happening. But
until the Yankees get to the World Series, I don't think they're a World Series champion caliber team. I just don't. I didn't think it with the Dodgers even up until they won it last year. And Joey, you know how much talent both those teams have. But like, you know.
Okay, so it's called contenders. It doesn't mean champions.
Right. Look, no, but for those fans, for whatever team you root for, if it's a championship caliber team or not, right, who say this is happening no matter what. It's a bold statement. Obviously, you know, if you have your bold statement, fine. But for those who have somewhat realistic chances, right, but whose history over the last like 2 or 3 years prior, right, has just been the exact opposite of what they've said, how it ends the same way every year. I mean, the easiest one, with all due respect, Joe, is just to take the Yankees. The last 3 years, they've had a championship.
No, it's not, bro. Come on. It's not.
The last 3 years, championship caliber team, and it was 2018. I mean, like, just got Stanton. We're going to the World Series. Best lineup in baseball. Well, they lost in the AL.
It's
the next year. Stanton, Judges helped you. We got better pitching. We got James Paxton.
Better pitching. Josh, I don't know what Yankees you're watching.
You got James Paxton. Say 2019, they were actually robbed of going to the World Series, but I don't think they would have.
Hold on. Better pitching, Josh. That's a good one. James Paxton and Jay Happ.
Okay, shut up. 2020.
No, this is my team. You cannot say better.
Easily, okay?
No, that's not fair.
Team of the 3, and they lost in the ALDS. And this was after they had talked crap about signing the the best pitcher in baseball. It wasn't close, okay? It wasn't a thing, and they didn't do it. Until I see it, I can't believe it.
Okay, but Josh, saying they got better pitching that year with James Paxton and Jay Happ is just a bullshit take. That doesn't make any sense. Look at both of them now. Jay Happ sucks in Twins, and Paxton's not even playing right now. He's not even playing. He's out for the year. That's a bullshit take. And second of all, if you're thinking about it, if you really want to go through all the teams, the Bucks are also in that boat. The team that fucking just won the whole thing right now, they're in the same exact boat that you're talking about.
And they got better, and they didn't talk crap.
No, but they haven't won shit either. They made
their team better. They made their team better, and they were smart to not.
Josh, they've been to the Eastern Conference Final. They've already been there twice. Okay, so like they still haven't proven.
Look at the guy whose name starts with a J. It's spelled Jrue, and his last name is spelled Holiday. And he played 48 minutes. He had 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and 13 points. Look at that guy. And you're going to tell me he was part of the 3 teams before this year. Right.
Okay, Josh, I told you that. I'm not saying it. Okay, but can't the Yankees do that too? Can't they go at the trade deadline and trade for someone? Can't they do that theoretically?
Hold up. They did it. They signed the best pitcher in baseball, and they said, we're going to the World Series. We got the starting pitching. And they didn't win more than 2 games in the American League Division Series.
I mean, Josh, you and I both know last year was a really weird year. Don't deny it, man. 60 games. You know it's true. Your boy Lindor sucked last year, and I know you could definitely attribute that to the fact that he played less than 60.
So if you're really going to tell me that because this year is
come on, man. You know it's true. You know it's
doing
true.
better this year. Might I point out to you that they are 38-35 right now, and the team in that division who is in first is 14.
Gosh, I don't know why the fuck we're talking about this NBA right now. I'm not spending hours talking about this shit. You want to talk about it? Go somewhere else. We're on NBA right now, okay? We can talk about this for hours. I'm not doing this. So let's talk about the NBA, please.
Okay, whatever. You know what? Screw it. We got to move on anyway. So Joey,
you have to make. Hold on. Wait. You have to make your predictions, Josh.
I'm asking you to do it first.
Sure. So we got Atlanta, Milwaukee. It's a hard one. Because Trae Young's a monster. I'll say Milwaukee in 6.
Yeah, I gotta take Milwaukee in 6 too. Not 6. I'll put him in 7. I'll give him 7. I don't think Atlanta's gonna lose the winner go home game on their home court. If they lose, in a game that they could clinch a series, okay, they still have another chance. But I don't think they'll get eliminated on their home court. Now, watch the Bucks sweep the Hawks, and
there's no shot.
In the great words of Urinating Tree, now watch me be wrong after the first 2 games or whatever.
There's no way. That team, no way. I know they swept the Heat, but I don't see it.
Yeah, obviously. Two very different teams. Either way, let's move on. Let's do baseball. And
all right, Josh, pull your shit out. Let's go.
Yeah, we've talked about a couple times this season how some players have had 3 home run games, and we've talked about twice, and obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But I think this is probably, I think Winker's the most underrated, the most unpredictable guy, I guess, of these 3 to do it. I'm just shocked, though, that this guy was the one who did it last so far and the most recent, and that was Kyle Schwarber. Yesterday, he hit 3 home runs against the New York Mets. 2 solo home runs and 1 2-run home run, and he drove in 4 of the 5 runs that they had scored. And honestly, without him, just statistically yesterday, the Nationals would have lost this game because they would have lost 2-1. Taijuan Walker was good, but not the Taijuan Walker we've seen so far. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the Nats take 3 of 4 from the Mets, who were riding a hot streak. They were 8-2 in their last 10 games, knocking off teams like the Braves, like the Padres, like the Cubs, who are 3 of the better teams for sure in the National League, if not the MLB. And with that being said, the Nationals right now are starting to climb closer toward 500. Lester has been good as of late. Corbin's been better as of late. Eric Fetty, very underratedly, Joey, has thrown something now like 16 or 17 straight shutout innings. The Mets pitching was good in this series, really just minus the last inning of yesterday's game and all of the third game in the series, or the second doubleheader. I do want to point out that on Saturday, though, the first game of that doubleheader, Francisco Lindor had himself a day. He had 2 home runs, both were 2-run shots and an RBI single. So he drove in all 5 runs for the Mets. Jose Peraza continues to hit another 2-run shot in the nightcap of that doubleheader. Jacob deGrom did not see a start in this series. He was supposed to start yesterday, but because he was taken out on Wednesday night's game last week, which I was at, I mentioned that, and he was phenomenal despite only pitching 3 innings because he left with soreness in his shoulder. But he is going to be on the mound for one of the 2 games tonight against Atlanta at Citi Field. It's going to be a rocking environment doubleheader, and the first game starts in half an hour, by the way. But either way, we're not here to talk about that. I do just want to point out he was also 1-for-1 with an RBI single, and he struck out 8 of the 9 batters he faced. He didn't allow a base runner. Absolutely fantastic stuff. It's just a shame that it got cut short because if he would have even stretched it out 2 more innings, he would have qualified and eventually would have gotten the win because they scored 4 runs for him and the final score ended up being 6-3. Anyway, with that being said, great game from yesterday's pitcher, Patrick Corbin, who was fantastic. He only gave up 2 runs. Both were solo home runs, one to Kevin Pillar in the second, one to Pete Alonso in the seventh. I think he had like 7 or 8 strikeouts, maybe even 9. He was great. He got taken out after he gave up a leadoff home run to Alonso in the seventh and then walked Kevin Pillar on like 6 or 7 pitches. But the bullpen got the job done. They held them at scoreless through the rest of the inning, despite the one they had earlier by Alonso. And Kyle Schwarber then unloaded the insurance bomb, which ended up being his 3rd of the game. And obviously was definitely enough to put it well out of reach for the Mets, who lost 5-2. I do want to point out now, by the way, that Kyle Schwarber hit 2 home runs in the game prior. The last time a Nationals player hit had back-to-back games with multi-home runs was Bryce Harper during his MVP season in 2015. I don't know if that was against the Mets or not. I think it might have been, quite honestly, maybe like at the very end of the year. But either way, Schwarber did it for the first time since a Nationals player did it in 2015. And also let it be known that this has all been since they've moved him to the leadoff spot in the lineup. Over the last 11 games, including yesterday's game, he now has 7 home runs out of the leadoff spot. That is ridiculous. He was normally hovering around the 4 or 5 hole, obviously with threats in that lineup like Juan Soto, like Trey Turner, like Josh Bell, who still has it, like Starlin Castro. Some of these Nationals players like Ryan Zimmerman, who can still really hit, but they're missing Strasburg and they're missing Scherzer right now. And Joe Ross hasn't been the same. Neither has Patrick Corbin up until these last 2 starts. And that bullpen is just not great. I mean, they're missing Daniel Hudson, who's arguably their best reliever. Let it be known, Kyle Schwarber is really, really mashing the ball well. I mean, he's got like 17 or 18 home runs right now. And just like a week or 2 ago, he wasn't even at 10. So he's been on a power surge lately. And watch out, Joey, because obviously a Yankee fan, they don't see the Cubs or haven't seen the Cubs and the Nats as much as the Mets have the last couple seasons. And with those being the 2 teams Schwarber has spent his career with so far, I know from seeing him in person and watching him more on TV that when Kyle Schwarber gets going, and I'm sure you know this as with most power hitters, but especially him, seems to be a very streaky hitter. But when he is on, you don't ever want to be facing him at the plate in any situation. Blowing them out, getting blown out, or even in close, you never want to see him at the plate in this hot streak. And unfortunately, the Mets caught him at the wrong time.
Man, imagine if the Cubs kept Kyle Schwarber. Oh, my God.
Look, Jock Peterson was having a phenomenal spring training. He hasn't been terrible, but Kyle Schwarber's been on another level, especially the last 2 weeks, though, is when it's really started to set in. And he's homered 9 times in a 10-game span, by the way. I mentioned 7 home runs, by the way. That's just out of the leadoff spot. That's not total. So he still hits in other positions. But ever since he's been moved to the leadoff spot, by the way, the Nationals are like, it's been I believe 8 games that he's been moved to the leadoff spot. Sorry, it's been 10 games since he's been moved. No, not 10. It has been 8 games. 10 was the home run thing. Ever since he's been moved to the leadoff spot, the Nats are 7-1. And that one loss was against the Mets in the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday. So
I mean,
maybe
I don't know.
they're starting to heat up.
Games out of first, so if they don't unless they start losing, they might sell, they might buy. It's all
they're getting hot at the right time right now.
Yeah.
No one's really, the Mets are in first, and they have like a 4-game division lead over the next team, which is the Braves. But with that being said, the Mets are playing the Braves now. The Nationals are not exactly playing against the strongest teams in the MLB. So if the Braves can knock off the Mets a couple games and the Nationals can keep winning right now, it's going to get even tighter than it's been all season.
Tight race. And the Marlins are just
sticking around.
30 wins.
They're a young team, young core, excellent starting rotation. They've been phenomenal. And obviously some of the younger players. Joey, I know that I said, like, real quick, I just wanted to point out that I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like looking through who to vote for second base in the National League for the All-Star game. And I was like, well, Jeff McNeil's hurt. Otherwise, he would have been in consideration. And I'm like, well, let's see. I don't really want to vote for Ozzy Albies, especially, I mean, like, it's not an bias thing. He's just not having a great year for Ozzy Albies. And I'm like, well, let's see. Baez doesn't play second anymore. And Moustakas is hurt. And I don't really know where to go. So I was like looking for someone. And all of a sudden, I realized Jazz Chisholm.
That's Chisholm, man. He's having a great year. Wait, but what about Jake Cronenworth? He's a second baseman, isn't he?
He is, but I feel like it's more exciting to watch Chisholm play.
That's
Cronenworth doesn't need, like, I mean, Cronenworth has a Tatis, he has a Machado, he's got Hosmer, and
I know, but you said second base. So I just thought about
Grisham and a loaded pitching staff to help him out. Like, Jazz Chisholm is one of those very few players on the Marlins who's producing well offensively, and by the way, a wizard with his glove and speed. So,
yeah, he might win Rookie of the Year in the National League. Him or Hayes.
We talked about Ke'Bryan Hayes and Ian Anderson being our top two picks and Christian Pache to be a runner-up.
Well, yeah, but that was because we didn't know about this guy. This guy came out of nowhere.
He's taken it by surprise, and he's very well earned my respect. I'll say.
He's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Is that your piece, or you got anything more to say? Or
that is my piece. Other than that, Mets.
Okay. So just a piece of news before I get to my team. I just thought I should mention this because I just want your thoughts. So, Josh, how many players from like last year's Indians team, not Lindor or Ramirez, can you name?
I mean, I can name Josh Naylor, Shane Bieber, Carlos Carrasco, James Karinchak,
anyone else?
Naquin, Roberto Perez. I could keep going if you want me to.
Well, it seems like you're not going to get the guy unless I say it, so might as well just say it. Jake Bowers got
probably would have gotten.
He got traded to the Mariners. So, what do you think about that, Josh?
I mean, the Mariners aren't a completely trash team record-wise right now. They're only like 3 or 4 games under 500, if I'm that correct, unless they've climbed close. That's what I saw last. I saw that like a day or two ago. I don't know how well or worse they've been playing.
It says that they have 39 and 30.
39 and 30.
The Indians or the Mariners? Which one did you say?
Mariners.
38 and 36.
38 and 36. So they're actually doing better than I thought they were doing. And I mean, don't forget, Joey, I know that 2020 was a disaster. 2019 was a disaster. But 2018, let's not forget that they were just short of the wild card. They were 88 and 74, I think, something like that.
That's when they had
a good year in 2018 as a team. And I mean, guys have stepped up big time on this team. Guys like Mitch Haniger. Obviously, we know about Kyle Lewis and his Rookie of the Year winning last year. Jared Kelenic coming up and instantly making an impact. And obviously, Kyle Seager has put together a good season late in his career there. And I know, obviously giving up Diaz after the season, what he did must have been tough. And even a guy like Cano, but still, I mean, this is a team that is very interesting now going forward. And might I mention that they still have prospects left that are really highly ranked and are still not playing at the number one level at Major League Baseball level right now. So very interesting to see where they'll be going. Jake Bauers, obviously a good pickup for this team for where they are. They could start to use a little bit of depth if they start to pull away or get closer toward the teams in the top for the division or maybe even the wild card spot. I guess we'll see where it ends up. Still too early to tell, but I mean, they're making progress to say the least. So in a good way.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then, speaking of prospects, the Rays are about to call up number one consensus prospect in all of baseball, Wander Franco. So that's going to be crazy when he gets there.
Really,
I'm not sure if he's ready, but if he is, might as well bring him up, right?
Well, we know the Rays could do one thing very well, and that's develop young players. The problem is they just don't like to spend money.
They don't like to keep them, that long.
Look, Willie Adames developed well with the Rays. Randy Arozarena, I mean, he's still really young, so they're going to have him another year or two at the very least, unless for some reason they decide to ship him away. Tyler Glasnow, fantastic. Austin Meadows, fantastic. And hopefully we're going to see the same thing with Wander Franco. Oh, also Brett Phillips. I mean, a guy they traded for who had seen
that walk-off in the World Series, bro.
That was majestic. I mean, the celebration was majestic, at least.
The whole thing was just awesome. It was awesome.
I mean, they're an interesting team. We've talked about it. I mean, look, they're in second place in that division right now in the AL East, and they're only one game behind the Red Sox. Sorry, the Red Sox have played one more game than them. So the Red Sox, who are sitting right now at, I believe, 43 and 39, and the Rays are
29. 43 and 29.
43 and 29, sorry. And the Rays are sitting at 43 and 30, I believe.
Yes.
The Rays have played one more game than them. So the Red Sox I guess the Rays have also had an opportunity to win more game. It goes both ways, but the Red Sox haven't lost that game either. So with that being said, interesting to see where it goes. I'm excited. I've been excited really ever since midway through last year to see if they were going to bring him up, and they didn't last year. But now this year, I mean, they're saying it, and I guess because Willie Adames, don't forget, was traded to the Brewers, that who knows, maybe this is going to be the time where Franco makes his mark and solidifies his spot in the starting lineup. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. All right, Josh, what do you feel about triple plays? How do you feel about them? I
mean, obviously, I think it's the most rare play in all of baseball. Forget about walk-off home runs, like all that stuff.
Right.
It is the most rare play.
It is the most rare play.
And I heard that, and I know where you're going with this, but just
I know.
It's not even just a game winner, but what was it like this?
No, but I'm not talking about that one yet. I want to talk about how they had 2 in 5 days, motherfucker. Yeah. They had 2 triple plays. Yeah, and I don't know which one I like better, because if you look at this one's really weird. He throws to first, then they throw to second, and you think you get him out at second, but no, he throws it to home. And I don't know what the hell Bo Bichette's doing. I'm like so confused. And then they tag Simeon, and then they get Bo Bichette. And I was like, this is the worst base running I've ever seen. I don't know if it was like 1,000 IQ or like just terrible base running or both. And I was just like, I don't know which one I like more, because this was just weird. It was like crazy, impressive, and weird. And it was against the division rival. But then this one, Josh, oh my God, this one was to end the game. I don't think I've ever seen something like that where you end the game. I'm sure it's happened before, but like, I don't know the last time.
Actually, one that the Mets lost on because of a triple play. I remember it was against the Phillies.
No, but that's crazy. That's absolutely insane that they end the game with the triple play. I was like, oh my God, this is their second one in 5 days, and their third one in a season. That's a let me just see.
Look, they're tied already for the most triple.
No, I know. I want to pull it up just to make sure I'm right here.
They make MLB history.
Yeah, let's see. Yes, it's an MLB record. They're tied for an MLB record. Right. So yeah, if they get one more, which is no guarantee, because of how rare they are, they'd break a record. But that's freaking crazy. I was like shocked that happened, And they had good games against the Blue Jays. They swept the Blue Jays, and they got 2 or 3 against the A's, who were a fantastic team. Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, Romo Laureano, just great stuff. So yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week, and that's all I got to say. Okay, ready for football, Josh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Josh, I only got 2 things to talk about. I'm gonna be very quick, unless you have something to mention. Okay.
I actually have, but I feel like it might be one of the things you have. I
highly, highly doubt it. It's a signing. Both my things are signings, so I highly doubt it.
Signings, okay. Well, I mean, I'll mention something real quick.
You want to go first, or?
I don't know if you heard this, but Eli
go ahead.
Going to be working with I think like fan engagement for the New York Giants. He's back in there. He's not back. I mean, he's in their front office, but I'll see if I can just find this the source real quick.
Wait, who? I didn't hear the name. I didn't hear a name, Josh.
This was a post from the New York Giants earlier on social media, and it said Eli Manning is back home. Eli is regional organization in a business operation and fan engagements role. And yeah, that's
okay, here it is. Here, let me pull it up. I just see it now. Okay, yeah, Eli Manning will be in business operations, fan engagement role. Yep. I mean, usually I would say this is weird because he never felt like a guy that talked a lot. Is that just me?
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't disagree with
I
you.
feel like he let his play, do all the talking. But that was when he was playing. Ever since he retired, he got Twitter. And, I hate Twitter, Josh. I think it's a disgusting cesspool most of the time. However, when it comes to sports stuff, it's actually pretty cool. And Eli Manning was chirping a lot. He just came out of the gate, and his Twitter game is fantastic. I remember even Tom Brady commented after Eli's first post, and he's like, "Oh, well, you never showed up till the fourth quarter anyway," which is just like a savage knock on him.
It's savage, but I'm sorry, Brady. You didn't beat him any time in the playoffs.
No, I think he's insulting him while also complimenting him because he beat him. He's like, "Oh, you didn't show up till then, but you still like he beat me." I don't know. Not really sure because he wrote it. I didn't hear him say it. But yeah, this is it's cool, man. I love when former players in any of my teams, come back. Like Leach was on the Rangers staff. Jan Girardi's gonna be an assistant allegedly. Things like that. Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, like long shot, but maybe even the King will come back in some kind of role.
Oh my God.
That would be very.
He thinks he could still play. So.
Yeah, that's why I said long shot.
That's not happening till he retires. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is yeah. So this is cool. I'm willing to do anything, but I'm focused on the business side and on community relations, which was always important to me when I was playing here and something I placed a high priority throughout my life. I look forward to seeing where I can make the most impact in helping the Giants achieve their business and community goals. Okay, I'm not watching this whole video right now, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's move on.
Okay, so this is my thing. Okay, so I don't know if you know this player, but hopefully you do. So, Josh, how many defensive players do you think you can name off the top of your head from the Dolphins?
Not a lot.
All right, we'll try.
Does Kyle Van Noy count? No, I'm just.
No, he's gone. All right, it's Jerome Baker. 3 year,
people love, yeah.
3 year, $39 million extension for Jerome Baker. Okay, so that's
the defense was a big part of the Dolphins' success last 100%. Year. I like this pick. I like this move by Miami.
Yeah, so he had 7 sacks and 7 tackles for loss last year. So, and he had over 100 tackles for the second straight season, and he has not missed a game, which is big in the NFL. So that's not bad, bro, for a 3rd-round pick. That's a lot of production, man. A lot. 7 sacks for a 3rd-round pick. Do you ever think, how many 3rd-round picks can you think of right now? Because I can't really think of any, except maybe the Giants ones, but I don't think any of them have 7 sacks. So yeah, I'm gonna say this is a good move. Yeah. And this other one, I don't know how I feel about it because I feel like this guy, because I'm going to give you a hint and see if you know who it is before I pull it up, but he played for the Jets, and I feel like anyone who gets drafted by the Jets is just automatically going to be a bust. I just think it's a curse on them. Anyway, he got traded to the Seahawks years ago. He played for the Browns last year, and now he turned down more money to re-sign with them. To sign with the Minnesota Vikings.
It's time for dinner.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
No idea what to.
Anyway, I don't know. His name is Sheldon Richardson, and he has now signed a deal with the Minnesota Vikings. He took less money from the Browns. They were offering him. Yeah, he took 3.6 with the Vikings. He would have gotten 4.35 with the Browns. So think about that. So it wasn't about the money, Josh. Why do you think someone would take an offer from the Vikings versus the Browns? Because it's not like they're the old Browns, they went in the playoffs. So
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there's got to be some kind of connection.
But the only reason I can think of is might be maybe playing time. Maybe that defense is just really stacked, because now they got Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney and Olivier Vernon. And
look, we're talking nearly $1 million more though with Cleveland.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't think that would be.
Oh, I get it now. It says here, I think he was cut and then offered a
restructured contract.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, wait a second. Let me see that. Okay, considering rounds played, what 30th choice assigned. Okay, so yeah, it says he chose it because they cut him. Yeah, of course he'd leave. Whoa. Oh, okay, I get it now. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, he got spurned. He got screwed over. That's a betrayal. Okay, never mind. No, this makes sense. I guess he thought that he was worth more, but at the end of the day, he just didn't like the idea of getting cut, so he'd rather go to a place that wanted him.
Well, that was full retard mode on both our parts.
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird, but yeah. Okay, and he has a good relationship with the coach. That's a good thing. I mean, as the Giants, Blake Martinez had a good relationship with Patrick Graham in Green Bay, and Logan Ryan with Joe Judge, and so on and so forth. But yeah, what do you think of this signing, Josh?
I mean, good for them. Richardson's a good player. This is a young defense. Obviously, at least in the secondary, they are. We've talked about some of the moves that they've made so far. I think that good move. And another guy, I know Harrison Smith is already one of the elite defenders in the secondary, but a guy like Sheldon Richardson, who's got a little more experience, can take him under his wing now, I think. And get him a little more experience playing with a guy like him.
Right. Okay. And that's all I have to say. As you know, the off season, it gets slow, because it's kind of over because now it's like all camp, it's training camp. So there's not much to talk about. I mean, I could mention this a little bit. Obviously, Rodgers isn't going to camp, but so is, I don't know if you heard, Stephon Gilmore. He hasn't attended the mandatory training camp. You think that's a big deal?
No, I don't think so. I think that he'll that is a Patriots team that right now is built on defense. So I think that.
And he, I think, might be the best cornerback in the league. I don't know, unless you can think of someone else, but I feel like he might be. Anyway, so that.
Anyone else? I want to move on.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I don't really give a shit. I'm good. So we're gonna do playoffs in a sec, but I want to just obviously we did awards. We did award predictions last year, and not all of them were done, but some of them have been announced. So let's recap, shall we? So of course, Pecorine won the King Clancy. We knew that already, and I think it was the Bill Masterson, Oscar Lindbaum. That happened, right? Willie O'Ree. Yeah. I don't care. Okay. So the first one since our last show was to Jack Adams. So this is to the best NHL coach. So this is between Rod Brindamore, Dean Evanson, and Joe Quenneville. I think we both said it was Rod, right? Did we both say Rod?
No, we both said that it was Dean because of
what? You know what? You're right. I think because the team Carolina was already good before. And this year Minnesota was. But
like this Wild team was, I guess, look, they made the qualifying last year, but
but so many other teams did. More than half the league made it.
Right. I mean, by that logic.
Yeah, I know the Rangers, but if we're being honest, the Rangers were like a much better team than the Wild. If we're being really honest, they were the hottest team right before the thing is. If we're being really honest, but whatever. Anyway, so the winner is Rod the Bod, and this will be really funny if he leaves and goes to Seattle, in my opinion. When you have a coach of the year and he leaves, but yeah.
Well, newsflash, Joey, you clearly didn't hear then. He signed a 3-year
extension. Oh yeah, he's okay. I just figured based on what you just said. Okay, fine. Let me pull that up. Yeah. Reactions to this, Josh. Are you mad? Are you sad? Are you just like Seattle screwed? They're just going to get toxic?
I mean, if Gallant wouldn't have signed with the Rangers already, I would have been a little more like, okay, like you got to make a move, Chris Drury, even though Rick Tocchet's on the market, But no.
Yeah, so Josh, this probably means that
I really didn't think he would come to the Rangers. We both knew, Joey, like we were talking about it as Wardy would famously say, as a pipe dream. Definitely,
it's a fever.
Probably was not going to come.
Well, now, do you think, Josh? Just a quick tangent. Do you think Rick Tocchet's now like he's getting Seattle job, or do you think other people like Bruce Boudreau, Claude Julien, maybe even Babcock or Torts is going to get Seattle? Like, what are you thinking?
You never know, and who knows? Maybe Tocchet will want to come back to being a head coach. Maybe not a head. Maybe he'll want to be coming back to an assistant coach role. Maybe he won't want that much, on his shoulders. He's a phenomenal coach either way. but I guess we'll see. I
Yeah,
would think he'd like to stay a head coach, and I would think he'll probably end up with Seattle. But I wouldn't,
Yeah, I mean, like, he's not going back to Arizona, and the Columbus job is already filled.
I don't know what he's looking for, though.
I'm saying that's his only opening right now, as far as I know.
In terms of head coaching, at least.
Yeah, I'm saying he could be an assistant. He did have a lot of success with Pittsburgh and somewhere else, I think. Was he on the Lightning, or he was on another team as an assistant, I think.
I don't remember.
Whatever. The point is, yeah. So, yeah, he has one shot, so don't screw it up, Rick. Okay. Then Frank J. Selke, best defensive forward. We both said this is we could rename it the Patrice Bergeron Award. But if we were being honest, it should go to Mark Stone, because even though we did acknowledge they have a bias towards centers this league. And Alex Barkov, good season. I would have rather had O'Reilly, but as the third option. But yeah, we both said Mark Stone. And let's see who the winner is. Barkov? What the fuck? What?
He really I knew this.
He had a great season, but I'm a little shocked. I'm not gonna lie.
I had the same. I think that really the Mark Stone piece of it came a little more into play with the playoffs, and this is
right. And this is a regular season.
Same thing with Bergeron, honestly. I mean, like, they didn't shut down Ovechkin, really throughout the regular season the same way they managed to do it in the playoffs. Alexander Barkov, on the other hand, was a huge piece. I mean, he is the captain of the Panthers, and he's a dynamic offensive talent. Obviously, being a top overall pick the way he was, and his age still. He's only like 24, 25 right now. Let's not forget that. He
got developed
not even in his prime, and he's already, I would say, a top 10 center in the game. I would have to believe overall.
I could definitely roll with that. Top 10, I'll go for that.
Top 10, like in no particular order. I'm just saying, like, for what I would say, obviously on the back end, because he's not better than McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Crosby, I would say.
Matthews, Bergeron.
Either way, okay, like, forget about that. But either way, okay, Matthews, Bergeron. It's the top 6. And then
maybe Zibanejad, maybe. I don't know.
No, I think Zibanejad could be up there later also. Like, him and Barkov are probably around like the 8 through 10 spot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
Right. So, like, whatever. Clearly, there are a number of players. But with that being said, Barkov changed his play style under Joe Quenneville in this season, which they had to focus on playing the teams they struggled against a little more last season, like the Tampa Bay Lightning, like the Nashville Predators, like even the Detroit Red Wings. Florida didn't have a great record against Detroit last year. As shocking as that might seem, it wasn't the case. And also, it was the case. And even against teams, I know Dallas isn't in their division, but because they're closer, in terms of the West and Eastern Conference, when that, was the way the divisions were aligned, they would be seeing Stars a couple times. Barkov was way more of an offensively restricted player. Obviously, we know what he can do when he's one-on-one on breakaways and the penalty shot, especially in shootouts. But, I mean, he really stepped his game up defensively. He was put on the penalty kill at a higher percentage this year. Penalty kill, like, he's always been a solid defensive centerman. But with that being said, this season was on a completely different level. And it took Bergeron a little bit of time to refine his defensive game, and it took Mark Stone a little bit of time. The Golden Knights didn't get off to such a hot start. Let's not forget. Same thing with Boston. Boston started hot and then really cooled off a lot. And then, he'd back up hanging into the playoffs again.
Yeah, but again, this is a regular season.
The most consistency between those three teams throughout the entirety of the season. And I think that is really what allowed Barkov to win it, because he was never really a streaky player. He was kind of solid all the way throughout, while Bergeron, a little up with his team, a little down. Mark Stone, not off to a strong start, and, picked it massively up, especially down the stretch heading into and including the playoffs. But then again, the playoffs don't factor into who wins this award, which is why I would say Stone definitely got shut down for it. We know that. And even Bergeron to an extent. And Barkov, made the playoffs, but didn't play more than 5 games. So,
yeah, and when you see things like this, you get a little bit excited because, as you know, his first big coach was Gerard Gallant. So that's exciting stuff, man. Okay. Now we got the Lady Bing. This is the sportsmanship, right? So that was Austin Matthews, Slavin, and Spurgeon. I believe you said Spurgeon.
I said Spurgeon was going to win it, but
I think I don't know. I liked Austin Matthews. I feel like he's a very sportsman-like player. You know, he doesn't seem cocky. I guess I don't know. Maybe I gave it to I don't remember who I gave it to. I don't really care.
Well, shockingly enough.
But yeah, Slavin won. I was like, what?
Pretty sure we mentioned this last week.
I don't remember. This one I don't remember for some reason. I do. All I remember is that you said Spurgeon.
We did it. I just don't remember which week it was. But I do remember. No, we definitely mentioned it. I do remember that for sure.
No, but like, yeah, interesting that he gets it. I don't know, but yeah. He's a great player. I'll give you that. He seems like a nice guy. I mean, personality, he's one of the best, one of my favorites. I think my favorites are the goalies, you know, Rask and Vazzy. But yeah, he's up there. He's cool. I don't know. This is a hard one to gauge because you don't really see much. Because this is by the Players Association, so like we don't see everything they see, so it's a little hard to really judge. Okay, next award. The General Manager of the Year award. So I believe Lou was recommended again. Mark Bergevin, who Tree always loves to reference, and Bill Zito. So I don't remember doing this one, but I don't know if there's a winner yet. But if I had to pick, I'd pick Bill Zito because of what he did this year. But I do understand people saying Bergevin getting to Foley and Anderson and everything. I just feel like Bill Zito, but I feel like what Bergevin did was a lot more obvious. You know what I mean? Like getting to Foley and Anderson and Jake Allen and stuff. I think Bill Zito took more risks getting Duclair, Hagee and stuff, and not stuff.
In terms of me, I don't remember if we did this one.
I think this one's newer, so I don't know if they have a winner yet. But let's just do a prediction now, Josh. Who would you
give? Joe. Yeah, like it's tough for me to not pick Mark Bergevin.
Right.
That being said, Bill Zito, most of that work came in prior to this season. I'm not saying like not prior like offseason, like prior like 2019. Like that's when he brought in Sergei Bobrovsky, and I know they traded for Alex Wenberg, and not traded. I know they got Carter Verhaeghe and Alex Wenberg this past season.
And
I mean, most of the extensions, on Barkov and letting Huberdeau and like trading Trocheck, all that stuff wasn't over this past year in terms of what they were able to get. Most of that was prior to this season and prior to the off season that came into the season. So he's off the board for me. Bergevin and Lamoriello. As much as I would hate to not pick Bergevin and to pick Lamoriello, I have to pick Lamoriello just because of the scrambling he had to do this past season. They lost their captain. Varlamov played like crap. They brought up Sorokin. They traded away picks and a player for Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac, who have been huge pieces. And even before, I know that I said I can't give him credit for this year, but the Pajot trade just seems to get better and better for them.
But this is an award for this year, so I just can't do it.
So, I mean,
you're getting injured. That has nothing to do with you. You calling up a goalie, anyone will make that decision when the other goalie plays like shit. So the only thing he did, in my opinion, was trade for Palmieri. So if you think that was like a god tier trade, then yeah, sure, I'll give it to him. I don't think it was. I think it was just a replacement for Landers Lee. Yeah, good job. I think that's.
Let's also not forget that they extended Ryan Pulock and Matt Barzal.
That's a good point.
Now that being said, they would have had those players this year, at least for one.
I'm saying that was a next season thing. He could have done it at the end of.
He could have, but they didn't want to take their chances.
Right.
And with that being said, I can't not give it to Mark Bergevin. I just can't. But I do want to show the respect for Lou Lamoriello for working around the obstacles this season. I mean, let's be realistic. Like, I'm not an Islanders fan, and I'm not rooting for them to win the cup. But at the same time, I have to respect this team where they are without the amount of talent that so many of the other teams have. I know we're only down to 4 in Vegas, Montreal, the Islanders, and Tampa. And granted that the 3 teams that other than the Islanders are by far and large more talented than they are, but something just tends to work with this group of guys. And honestly, I think that Barry Trotz is probably the best coach left between these 4 guys who are left. But with that being said, like and he's doing it with like Matt Barzal, obviously a talented player, but I still wouldn't consider him an absolute superstar.
I think
definitely getting closer to that.
we're gonna cover that, Josh, in a second. But yeah, we'll cover that. Okay,
And
so let's see.
They're like Joe, you talked about it with the Rangers and with this all close. They're a flat out gritty team, and basically he took guys and Zajac and Palmieri who could score while being gritty as hell. So I mean, props to you, but I can't not give it to Bergevin.
Well, okay, so let's see if there's a winner, and if there is, who it was. No. Okay.
June 20th.
Sunday. Wait.
Well, that was yesterday.
Hold on. Let me see. Let me check this out. Let me see. GM Manager of the Year NHL. Let's see. GM Manager. Okay. Why is this not?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to see.
I don't really care, and I think we should move on.
I don't care either. Okay, fair enough. Maybe it's the Mark Messier Award. This is for the best leadership award. This goes back to what he did in Edmonton and doing all the amazing stuff in 1994, promising Game 6 hat trick, and then getting the game winner in Game 7 and winning the cup. So yeah, one of my favorites, personal favorite of mine. So anyone who wins this, I always say good for him. And the winner is not announced yet. Okay,
Will be announced.
Calder, we all know who it's gonna be. It's Krill the Thrill. If it's not, I will lose my shit. Okay, I don't even give a shit who the other people are. Okay, not announced yet. I think everything else is not announced yet. Hearts, okay. We said McDavid.
You know it's gonna be McDavid.
Yeah, Norris. We want it to be Fox. We think it will be Hedman.
Okay,
Hedman, and then Ted Lindsay, Sydney, Austin. We didn't know what to do, so I said pick Sydney because it's gonna be one of his last awards probably ever. Just the way he's playing. And the Vezina, you said Vazzy, I said Fleury, and yeah, we won't know any of that stuff till the final. So let's just get into our last part, baby. Let's get to the last part of the whole thing.
Go out with a bang. Let's close this show out because
So where do you want to start? Which side? Do you want to do Islanders Lightning?
The Islanders play tonight, so let's go to them.
So just to bank off your point about the grit and the talent, they are obviously the least talented team. I think Montreal's not I think they are definitely more talented than them, but not by a lot. I think it's Barzell, and I think with the Canadians, it's Toffoli and Caulfield. Maybe Suzuki too. So they have a little bit more in terms of offense. Obviously, both these teams have great defenders, but I'm talking about scoring. Also, who was that? Who was that with the red eyes? That was Paul Byron, right? We'll get to that, but holy shit. Look what happens when you make a deal with the devil, man. Holy shit. Okay. All right. So Islanders Lightning. Islanders take game 1. Lightning rape them in 2. And close game in 3, and then Islanders come back in the game 4. So how do you see this going, Josh? Do you think momentum's on their side, or do you just think they're just going to trade blows till game 7?
I do think momentum is on the Islanders' side, and I'm going to still say that they win in 6. I told you why. It's the same configuration. That's a little more superstitious than it is actual play, but they've got the momentum. They had a game-saving play by Ryan Pulock. I don't know if you watched that, Joey.
I did see it.
Okay, okay. Timeout. I know you're going to hate me for this, but you have to see this play.
I saw it.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, yeah, whatever. I lost my shit. I flat out thought McDonough tied the game. No way the Lightning weren't going to win that game if he did, in fact, tie it, because they had all the momentum, despite the fact that they were shorthanded. They had the net empty playing 5-on-5, and they were dominating the Islanders in their own end. And, I mean, Ryan Pulock might have just saved them the series for all we know. He saved them the game. We know that's for sure. He might have just saved them the series. He really might have. And if the Islanders can, in fact, win the game tonight, sure as hell, there's a damn good chance they're closing it out at the Coliseum, because they don't want that to be their last game. If they're going to go out this year, they're going out with a bang. And
I gotta tell you,
know that. It pains me to say that because I don't want this team to be good. They have nothing talent-wise. Maybe Barzell. No, not maybe. They have Barzell. And even, I'll give them Varlamov because he's a good goalie.
Yeah, but he can't score. He can't.
They have nothing. They have absolutely nothing talent-wise. Eberle's a solid player, but he wouldn't be a first liner on like any other team. Certainly not the Lightning. Certainly not.
Dude was on Edmonton, one of the worst franchises when he got traded, and he just.
I mean, yeah, they've made good use of him, but like, he's not like. Let's be realistic. I mean, he's a right winger, so he's sure as hell not better than Pastrnak or Rantanen. He's definitely not better than Patrick Kane or Kucherov.
Isn't Mark Stone also a right winger?
Stone's also a right winger. Thank you.
Yeah, come on, who?
I mean, like he's
kidding, man?
Not a top 5 winger. I don't even think he's top 10, quite honestly.
No way, man. The only Barzal, and that's
solid
it.
Player.
That's
He's a solid player. He's proven that. Now, not top 10. That's first of all. Okay, I don't even think Matt Barzal's a top center in the NHL. Okay, enough said about that. But the fact that they have guys like Leo Komarov playing on that first line, it just shows them how confident they are playing pretty much. Like the Islanders, I feel, other than like Eberle and Barzal, at least offensively, are a team full of depth players. And I don't know if that sounds weird or not, because a team is supposed to be deep. Like, you have your depth. But I feel like all of these guys are pretty much players who are, playing whatever role they are on their line. That would pretty much be depth players on any other team. Not any, but most other teams. That second line of Nelson, Beauvillier, and Bailey, I don't know how they do it, but they score in bunches. That third line of Pajot, Palmieri, and Zajac, I don't know how they do it, but they keep the puck in your zone forever. That fourth line of Clutterbuck, Cizikas, and Martin, I don't know how the hell they do it, but they could battle and crush any other team, any other line. Like, not even a question.
I think I could explain that, Josh. I think it's the fact that since none of them are talented enough to score.
Right, they physically crush.
No, I know. But I think since none of them are talented enough to score, I think just everyone just does their own zone role thing, and whoever gets the puck, they're just gonna go for it because.
That line, by the way, is producing at a pretty solid rate throughout the playoffs. In the Penguins series, they didn't score a ton, but they generated lots of momentum. They put up chances. In that second series against Boston, that was the line that scored the first game-winning goal of the series in overtime against Boston. Casey Cizikas won it. In Game 4, they had 2 empty netters. Cal Clutterbuck and Casey Cizikas each scored. In Game 5, I don't remember how they did. And in Game 6, Clutterbuck had an empty netter. I'm pretty sure that Matt Martin had a goal at some – not Matt Martin. No, Cizikas had another goal at some point. Clutterbuck had 2, I think. And with that being said, Matt Martin scored the game-winning goal in Game 4 against the Lightning. Might I add, by the way, that they're doing this all. I've said it before, and I'll say it again to remind you that they're doing this all without their goddamn captain, Anders Lee. Now, granted, I know if Lee's in the lineup, there's no Palmieri and there's no Zajac because they don't have the cap space, or they don't have the money or the space on that team physically, just body-wise for them. And might I also add that they are without Devon Toews and Johnny Boychuk this year, and they didn't get NHL players for those two. They got draft picks and extra cap space. That's what they got for those two guys.
Yeah, but you could have just had Devon Toews, a player that can impact you now, instead of having to ruin your cap and then be forced to trade him in the.
That's not what I'm saying.
Don't you think that's a big deal?
Much deeper team
Colorado,
with him, and they are playing better without him. That's what I'm saying. Everyone seems to forget.
Josh, if you want to go there, you could just talk about John Tavares, how he hasn't gone past the first round.
Obviously we have to shame Toronto for being Toronto. So that, whatever, we'll do that.
Fair enough.
Either way, with that being said, and I've said that a lot, but it's bringing me on to my next point. I feel like it's at least making sense in the context that I'm saying, is the fact that this is a team that, for some reason, has me believing they could actually win the cup because they've gotten this far. And they've played a closer series this year against Tampa than they did last year. Last year against Tampa, forget about even being tied. Forget about even being ahead. They were never tied with Tampa in the series last year. They were always trailing. Not only have they been tied with Tampa, they are now, but they took the first game of the series on Tampa's ice. And it is it's shaping up. Look, this is going to be the biggest game of the series, I think. Even if the Islanders have an opportunity to close it out in Game 6 at the Coliseum for what could be their final home game ever at Nassau Coliseum, I really think that whoever I think
Imagine
if
they
the
win.
Islanders win this series, it's in 6, and if the Lightning are going to win it, it's going to be in 7. I don't think the Islanders are blowing their last game on home ice. I just don't.
Imagine they win it. They win Game 5, lose, and they lose at home, and then they lose Game 7.
Yeah,
Like,
that'd be heartbreaking.
but yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from. I gotta admit, man, the fact that they have like they're losing their home, they're gonna be homeless for a few months. I think that I think that definitely is having an actual effect on them.
I was gonna say. I mean, like before you thank you reminded me, but I think it's giving them extra motivation. And one way or another, they're
Sure,
gonna play their
100%.
last game at the Coliseum. The question is, how do they want it to end? So
Exactly. Like, are they gonna win with the cup, or are they're just gonna get knocked out?
even if they make the cup and don't win, but they win their final game in the series, like say they don't have home ice. Let's say Vegas makes it to the cup against the Islanders, right? And let's say that the Islanders, obviously, so they don't have home ice advantage because Vegas is the higher seed than them. The only way, by the way, the Islanders get home ice advantage is if they end up against Montreal in the finals. Even though the Islanders are a 4, Montreal's a 4, and Montreal had less points on the regular season than the Islanders. And with that being said, again, if the Islanders say unless they, the only way for them to win the cup and win their final game having home ice advantage is if they either win it in 5 or in 7. That's the only way for them to win their final game and win the cup in the same game on home ice. At least, yeah.
They could still win at home. They could still win at home, but still lose the cup.
Right. If not, and say that even if they lose the cup, say to Vegas, right? But let's say that they lose in Game 5 or in Game 7, and they won Game 4 or they won Game 6, right? At least they'll have won their final game. They'll send it off on a high note, at least at the stadium. And look, no matter what, they're going at least as far as they did last year in terms of games, because they lost in 6 to the Lightning. It's going to take them at least 6 to either beat them or lose this year. So we'll see. But I say Islanders in 6. Joey, if you disagree with me.
I'm going to say, even though you think otherwise.
Well, you said Lightning. I just want to say, you said Lightning in 6 last time.
Yeah, and just like you, I don't like changing predictions if nothing really happens that changes my. And nothing's really happened to me that, like, yeah, I know Islanders have 2 games, but none of these games are blowouts. Like when the Lightning win, they blow them out,
Well,
like
only one. Well,
right, the one blowout, but that was on that was
being
Tampa.
A 2-goal game, and I don't think it's fair to call that a blowout, really.
I think in the playoffs it is because teams are much better in the playoffs. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, okay, then how about
I know. Colorado, Vegas. I know.
The Canadians in Game 6 in the quarterfinals. I guess that means they blew them out because they beat them 3-1. That's not a blowout, in my opinion.
How about this? Let me rephrase. Not blowout. They dominated most of the game.
If you want to say they dominated play, that's one thing. But for that to be
okay, I will say dominated play. Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase. Okay, I misspoke. When the Islanders play, they play it really. When they win it very, very close, where it could they could lose. But when the Tampa Bay plays, they dominate. When they win, they dominate. They dominate most of the game. At least one of the games they did that. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm predicting Braden Point to score tonight because I don't think he's not scored in something like 7 or 8 games.
He's scored in 7 straight games.
Yeah. So I don't know why he can't score a game winner or just whatever, or maybe even the only goal. I don't even know, man, because it's Barzal. It's just Barzal, man. You got Point, you got Kucherov, you got Stamkos, you got Cirelli, you got.
And ironically enough, they've shut every one of those players down except for Braden Point.
That's what I'm saying. I honestly think Braden Point is somehow going to just win the game for them. You know how Devin Booker did that? I think Braden Point will somehow do it. And I know it's a team sport, but I just feel like it's somehow going to happen. I don't know how. And by the way, I know what you said about their fourth line. I personally think Tampa has a better fourth line because of what they do on both ends of the floor. Connor Johnson was a huge point getter years ago, and he still got it. He scored a goal, I think, one of these games. I'm trying to remember which one. It was a beauty.
Game 4 he scored.
Yeah, Game 4. It was a beauty. It was a beauty goal. Pat Maroon is a tough son of a gun. He's going to beat the crap out of you, but he can also score. He was great in their playoff run and for St. Louis 2 years ago. And the one that you don't expect to be good, but actually got goals is Ross Colton. Who the hell is this guy? I'm afraid this guy's going to be Carter Verhaeghe next year. They're just going to dump him off. But yeah, if they're smart, they won't do that. But yeah, like he was great too. So yeah, I think I'd rather have that fourth line, but that's just me. But
Yeah.
listen, I think the real reason, if I'm being honest, the real thing that's really giving the Islanders all the leverage, I think, is like the desperation in Nassau Coliseum. And this is the one thing I will give him. I think Trotz is just a better coach than Cooper. I just think he is.
Yeah, I think
Like Cooper got swept 2 years
Cooper has
ago.
more.
By
Cooper has
freaking,
more
Cooper
series.
got swept by a better coach in Torts 2 years ago. So yeah, like
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll be straight up with you.
I think it's possible he got out coached. I think that's why I think like that's yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
I mean, Cooper has more playoff rounds won, but I don't think he is the better coach. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NHL, but I think Barry Trotz is better. I think Cooper's.
I don't know, man. Would you if Cooper?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Cooper's a top 5, but I think Trotz is top 3. I'll be straight up with you.
Really? I don't know, man. I feel like if he was fired, I don't know if I would go for John Cooper. Like you think you would, like for the Rangers? Like I don't know if I would personally.
I would definitely take John.
I think there's many coaches I'd rather have. Like obviously, like Trotz would be considered, but I think I'd rather have Rod, the Bod, Mike Sullivan, even Bruce Cassidy. You know, like I think I'd rather have those guys personally, but that's just me, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna say Tampa and Sticks just like I said before, and I don't see a reason to change it now. I think Braden Point's gonna do something crazy. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that side.
Can't disagree with
All right, let's get into Montreal, Vegas. Holy crap!
And this, I just want to say, even though they're both tied numerically, it just feels like even though they're at the same point, that this series has been more exciting to watch.
No, Montreal Vegas is awesome. Oh my god!
Every game between the Lightning and Islanders has been separated by no more than 2 goals. Right. 3 of the 4 games have been 1-goal games, and that's usually exciting. But I just feel like there's more that comes with it for Vegas and Montreal.
No, but Montreal, Vegas.
And I don't know if it's the history for Montreal and Vegas. Like, I know that doesn't make a ton of sense. This is only Vegas's 4th year in existence, but look at what they've done within the last 3. I mean,
dude, they made the conference final in 3 of their last 4 years.
This is going to be
last year, and the 1 year they didn't make it, Josh. It was because of such a terrible call with the Sharks, you know. So, you know, it's just
going to be the second. No matter what, win or lose Game 5, this is going to be the second farthest in the playoffs they've made it because they only went to 5 games in the conference final last year. So no matter what, they're at least going to make it to a 6th game in this round.
Yeah, I mean, they go even farther, and we'll get to that.
I'm still predicting them to win the cup. I don't care how hot the Islanders are. I think the Vegas Golden Knights are winning this cup. I made it clear from the start of this postseason bracket and everything that it's either Vegas or Colorado. Whichever one of those teams wins that series is winning the cup. I don't care who they play.
I thought Tampa should be considered in that too, but yeah, I hear you.
They should be, but I think I know they're the
defending champions, and they didn't change it.
Champions, dude, but like Vegas, dude, it's so hard to bet. Like
no, but Vegas, I agree. No, I agree with you, but I can't.
The stone and like it
they're so freaking good, man. They're so good.
Like Fleury just turned the clock back 10 years for crying out loud.
Right now,
that's the candidate.
Right, but
36 years old.
Right. But I think
they're not close. Like, okay. Come on.
Right, Josh. But I do have 2 things to say about Vegas, and I still think they're going to win it. But I think they have 2 issues, and you mentioned both of them, or at least you hinted both of them. So obviously, issue number 1 is Chandler Stevenson. You know, he's out, man. They say he's coming back. Peter DeBoer was quoted saying today, he said, Chandler Stevenson's return, tell me what you think about this, is on the horizon. We want to get back in the lineup, and I think it's on the horizon. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't know, man. But like, he better get back for this team.
That could be this game. That could be the next guy. That's just a vague term.
Like, don't get me wrong. Alex Tuch did a good job down the stretch of last night's game, stepping up and playing on that first line. But he was struggling massively early in the game. Now, that being said, I think he'll settle in a little more if he has to be the starting center on this team, if it's not going to be Chandler Stevenson for Game 5. But at the same time, I also think that Stevenson, they haven't changed anything with him. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It worked against Minnesota. It worked against Colorado. And, I mean, it worked against the 1 game he played in Vegas. Without him, they lost 2 games, and they were lucky that Tuch was able to get back on to his game last night, late in the game.
Okay, yeah, and then the second issue, I'll get to that in a second, but just to, I'll tell you now, it's the fact that, like, Fleury, great, but Leonard played last night, and we'll get to that. But like, that worries me a little bit. I feel like Fleury should be a starter, although Leonard did a great job, and we'll get to that right now. But let's just quickly recap. Game one.
I just want to make the point real quick, Joey.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Fleury did, to be fair, play 7 straight games again. He played since.
I think he's tired. He's tired as hell. So
right. And look, they had to give him a break, and this time it went a lot better for Robin Lehner. So I'm fully expecting Marc-Andre Fleury to see some time.
But what do you think? What do you think?
Him to see Game 5? And honestly, if they win Game 5, I won't be surprised to see Vegas go with Robin Lehner to make sure Fleury's really, really well rested for Game 7 potentially.
Right. Okay. But yeah, let's get over this. Let's go over this. So Game 1, Vegas just shows everyone why they should be the winner of this series. Beat Canadians 4-1. And listen, if you don't think that's a blowout, fine. Definitely dominated the whole time.
No, that's definitely more fair to say. When you win by 3, I think.
Okay. Okay. I was just saying. By the way, that was such a good game, man. What a game! Like, and it was crazy because like the defense was a big part of that game. Shea Theodore, Nick Holden, and Alec Martinez. I don't like saying his name, but yeah, also had a goal. You know, and Matthias Janmark, what a pickup! Also had a goal that game. So it was awesome. It was awesome. Game 1.
Peter DeBoer, I don't remember if I spoke. I think I might have, but Peter DeBoer called his former captain from San Jose, Joe Pavelski, and because he was teammates with Janmark last year, especially in the postseason, they went on that deep run to the Cup final, and he asked, "Well, look, I mean, like I know we played against you, but that was just one round. You know, like what am I getting if I get Matthias Janmark?" And he said, "Dedicated player, an absolute workforce." We talked about this.
You had a hat trick in Game 7 in the first round. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's clearly not disappointed. I certainly. At least,
right,
so.
and then yeah, Canadians doing like pulling an Islanders and just made like they win, but it's by 1, you know, in Game 2 and Game 3, you know, obviously like Joel, like the veterans like Joel Armia, Paul Byron, and then obviously they're big fish in Toffoli, you know, it's crazy. Alex Pietrangelo scores 2 goals, you know, one of them I think was a rebound. I think that was this game. I'm gonna check, but yeah, just and he still couldn't win it, which was crazy. And then the Canadians win by 1 again in overtime, and I think it was Cole Caulfield that got the winner. I'm pretty sure. If I'm not mistaken.
It was Anderson.
Oh, Josh Anderson. Okay, you're right. But Cole Caulfield, he did have a goal.
Yes,
he did have a goal. Josh Anderson had 2. That's right. Okay, right. And then this is the one that Pietrangelo had off the wall. Yeah, this is what tied it. And I was like, oh my God, are they winning the whole thing? And Nicholas Waugh had a goal. He's like a 4th liner or a 3rd liner. I'm trying to remember. Maybe 3rd liner. And we thought, okay, that's going to be his only goal of the series. You know, who cares, man? Boy, was I wrong. Holy shit, Josh. You look at this game, Paul Byron, he made a deal with the devil, and he took like a blood diamond and shoved it down his throat or something because something happened with his eyes. I don't know what he did, but dude was smoking in all these games, and he got a sweet, slick breakaway. He just roofed it, and it was nice. It was nice. I'm not going to lie. It was a nice goal, but it wasn't enough. Okay? Braden McNabb, who I never thought, like, he's a good defender on this team. I just never thought he was going to get a goal. He's a defenseman. You know, you just don't expect them. You know, he's not that kind of player. And he got a goal. I can't believe that went in. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, my God, that's in. How did they get in? I'm like, Carey Price, well, what happened? And then we go into overtime. And Nicholas Waugh, out of all people, he gets the puck, he shoots it, he misses, he gets it again, and he does the Datsuk. You know what I'm talking about? Like that little lift. I'm like, oh my God, that's just what a flex. It was so funny. He's just like, I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I think his family was there because I saw a whole group of people cheering in the Bell Center, and they were all wearing 10. So I'm like, either that's his family, or there are some people that are like super cheap and can't afford like good player jerseys, so they all bought.
Happy Father's Day, Pat. Let's just say that.
But yeah, like he had his own little fan club there. So yeah, good for him, man. Nicholas Waugh, what the hell? When Nicholas Waugh scores against you in back-to-back games, you got an issue, Carey Price. You got a real issue because you've been doing really well. So we got to talk. We got to talk because damn. But yeah, it was a good game. Without Chandler Stevenson and without Fleury, and they still won. I'm not gonna lie. If you told me those 2 were out, I'm a little skeptical, a little bit. But then again, it's not a player that makes the team. This team is a team that they're next man up mentality. They're bringing up guys that have scored before, like Patrick Brown and Keegan Kolesar. So I'm excited, man. This team's winning the freaking cup. So you want to make your prediction, or should I go first? Or I'm gonna say maybe 6 because that's the minimum. It's 6 or 7. So I'm saying Vegas is 6. I'm sorry, Montreal. You're right. You're right. It doesn't matter. Someone in the Canadian division was going to get to this point. It was you, but whoever it was is losing to the Knights or the Avalanche, whoever was going to win. So I don't care. It's Vegas in 6. I don't know if you're going to say Vegas in 7 or whatever, but yeah.
That sets up a Vegas Islanders matchup in the finals, at least prediction-wise. We'll see what actually happens. Because
that's for you. For me, I got Vegas Tampa, but yeah.
Right. For me, for the next, for the next episode, by the time that comes out, I'm sure both of these rounds will be done. Unless they go to 7. I don't know how the schedule works then. I think they still will be either way. But whatever, that wraps it up. And I think, definitely going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. Okay. And that's it.
That does it. So thank you everyone again for tuning in to the JJ Sports Podcast. Signing off for the final time today. I'm Josh.
And I'm Joey.
Have a great one.